we've got the whole company here, and wanted them to have the opportunity to get to know you guys a little bit better, the partnership, the history of Stream, some of the things that are most important to us, our culture, of course. So thought we'd get started with how you guys became partners, how long have you worked together, some of those things. Tell everybody about how this came to be, the partnership, that is.
Well, I'll bring it back to the beginning when I first met Mike, which was 1989. I had worked at Trammell Crow Company for a couple of years, went back to business school, and actually was back visiting with some of the guys I worked with. And I had the opportunity to interview Mike while he was in town interviewing for that job, and he looked like.
Wait, you interviewed Mike?
I got brought
So you
in.
gave Mike his first job in real estate.
I gave Mike his first job.
He sat in on the interview.
So he looked like a California surfer boy. That was what I recall most about it. And obviously blew everybody away. And so starting in 1989, we both met. So I've been sitting next to Mike for 35 years.
Trammell Crow, office leasing, working on projects together, or just like working on in the same business unit?
The way it was that Trammell Crow was set up back then was we were sort of in a soft competition with each other and everybody else. It wasn't real elbowy, but it was not collaborative. It was eat what you killed. Yeah. And that was the first thing that brought Lee and I together was we just worked really well together. The two of us were yin and yang to each other and really helped each other make our own individual pursuits that much better.
Yeah, that's awesome. So fast forward 27 years from the beginning of Stream, 1996. We sit here, it's 2024, January of 2024. You guys, over the last 27 years and even prior to that, have been through a ton together. Building a company, raising kids, all the changes that comes with that. How has your relationship changed over the past 27 years? How have you maintained that relationship? Are you guys good buddies outside of work and otherwise?
Yeah.
I'll add a couple things on that. So having been around him for 35 years, and I feel like nobody probably knows me better than Mike does. Just spent a lot of time at work together in different situations. And so having the opportunity for the good times, the bad times, somebody that has similar interests and knowledge and you can relate to what I'm doing, especially the bad times, right? Like to have somebody like that to lean on, everyone wants it. Yeah. And it's great. It's been very helpful.
The truest form of partnership.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went to each other's weddings. We went to, we had kids at the same time. We have grown up together. We were, when we met, I was 27, he was 26, and we're 60. He's 60, I'm 61. We've grown up together.
I've seen Lee be mad at you a lot. Have you ever been mad at Lee?
No.
I don't think so.
No. But you haven't really seen him. He may look like he's mad at me, but he's not really mad at me.
Never lasts more than
He's just,
30 or 40
he didn't sleep good or his lunch was bad or something. He's just a little fussy.
Lee can be fussy. Not often.
That's true.
But from time to time.
Very true.
So
I was this morning.
you were a little fussy this morning.
You've seen him mad at me?
No, I growing up in Stream and watching you
I don't
guys-
think I've seen him mad at me.
Yeah, you just didn't pick up. You just run right through it.
I snapped at you this morning.
Oh, that's
It
nothing.
doesn't. It's like water off of a duck's back. I mean, one of the things I've always admired most about you is you're not a sensitive guy, and you can be criticized, and you sort of process it and then move on. And
Yeah.
but you also have these crazy ideas that you'll just throw up against the wall. And I've heard Lee from time to time say, "That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard."
I've heard that one too. I don't like that one, by the way. That's the dumbest idea I ever heard. Or the other one is, we're not doing that.
That's awesome.
You said one time that somebody asked you what it was like sitting next to us the first time you sat next to us, and you said you've learned a lot about dispute resolution.
Yeah, which is true. And I don't even know, thinking back on that comment, they're not even so much disputes as it is just sort of working through the conversations and decisions in a very candid and direct and with pace, and then making the decision and then moving on and not worrying about it. I've never, in all the years sitting with you guys, working with you guys, to your point, like I've never seen anything carry over, like even beyond a meeting, much less just a few minutes later. I mean, it's just so easy to move past subjects. And I think that's probably a pretty special and unusual thing in partnership.
Oh, I think, and you know this, CJ. Mike is very good about addressing stuff. Like, let's get it out on the table. You are as well. That's probably not my greatest strength, but one of my great strengths is I do not carry anything, right? Like, and maybe it's my forgetfulness, but I move on and don't think about it again once the discussion.
I'm a little bit like that myself. So what do you like, question for each of you, what do you like most about your job? What do you like most about, and that can be sort of a holistic, like just what have you enjoyed most about your job today and in the last 27 years?
The people. Like when I drive to work and I'm gearing myself up for the day, I'm naturally, myself is just getting more and more fired up, and it's about who I'm going to see that day.
Yeah.
Like today was like, this was a very rude time for me to come to the office in the morning. I had to be here at like 8.
But you wake up at 5:30.
But I was driving down here and I was like, oh wow, we're doing that interview thing with CJ and Lee, and I'll probably see Susan and company, and I was just like, all right. And then we have this big.
You like the collaboration, but what do you like about like the work itself?
The people, like, I've told both of you guys this before, I thought I got into this business to be a real estate developer, and that's not what I am at all. I'm a people developer.
Yeah, you and I have that in common, for sure.
Yeah, and I hope they don't put real estate developer on my tombstone, because that's not how I view myself, but I think that's how the world views us.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah.
Lee?
Well, and I think that's, getting into real estate. Like, I can remember maybe being interviewed out of college about, what do you want it? Why real estate? It's, and I think most people both just described it. Like, I the tangible assets. I can see what I'm working on. I can change the landscape. It's like you initially think it's the real estate. And again, over time, you realize it's, especially in our business, where there's a lot of transaction, you do that transaction, you look at that, and now there's been hundreds and hundreds of transactions that impacted the real estate, and I don't really think about the real estate so much anymore. Big things I do, and I recall that, but it is so much about the people, and that's what you're going to remember, whether it's the people that you're close with. And, I call people that I work with friends, and you hope that lasts long after.
I think the one thing that has always been true for Stream and for the foundation that you guys have laid is building really, really high functioning teams with high functioning people, and then putting them in a position to be most successful. Be it moving young people into markets or taking somebody that's, that on the surface may appear to not be quite ready for a particular job, and putting them over a department or a business unit, and the energy and the creativity and the empowerment that comes with that, I think has been a big recipe for our success, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think to that point, this company is particularly gifted at empowerment.
Yeah. Agreed.
Creativity and energy of youth cannot be replicated. It's so good, right? And you see that more and more as you get older and you've been around longer, and you see the hustle, the strength, and the ideas, and just the go-getter nature of youth. Like, and
It's the only way you can scale a great
it
business.
makes
Yeah.
the company evergreen and
There's a
sustainable.
multiplier effect to it for sure.
You can see it physically when Matt Dornack's walking down the hall. You better get out of his way because he's doing something else and he'll hit you.
Yeah.
And it'll hurt.
Wait, yeah, walking back and forth, head down. It's pretty awesome. And like when we were walking up here, watching, Boozer and all the young people in, thinking about better ways to develop business and learn new skills, and that grind that you go through every day to improve your talents. So moving off the people a little bit and thinking back to some of the major decisions that have been made over the years, and chasing a big opportunity, which we'll get into the details of it later with Chase Tower, and then events beyond our control. How do you guys go about how do you go about making decisions, in terms of even day to day versus big decisions? I heard Lee say what he likes, but Mike, for example, like, what is Lee good at? Where is a scenario where you're going to yield the decision to Lee?
Well, how we make decisions is collaboratively, and what I like about Lee's end of that, although it's neither of our ends is exclusive, but his real strength is judgment. It's the ability to size up an opportunity or a problem, kind of work through all the different angles of it, and help us come to a better decision. And I'm probably a little bit more like, let's just go.
Yeah. More
Let's
decisive.
do something.
Agree.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that, Lee?
Yeah, no, I would, and I think I'm slightly more steady, right, as opposed to most
Slightly.
people, and where you're going to snap, make a judgment, and do something to try to be thoughtful,
Right.
and but yeah, without doubt, I think it's those 35 years, and your phone's ringing.
And your what?
Phone's ringing.
That's my notification on my front doorbell.
Yeah, but it's back to the 35 years of sitting side by side. I think you get a good feeling for, like, to me, if there's something I'm like, hey, this is on your to-do list, because I know he's way better.
And after 35 years, it's like, obviously this is on your to-do list. But I see it sort of as you're very much facts driven. Give me the facts and I'll process them. Decisive all the while, like you're not slow to make a decision. And Mike is more, I think, about instincts and quick judgment, and which he's very good at.
We had a guy we worked with at Trammell Crow. He one time told one of our coworkers, "I'm assigning you this task." So me and Lee joke with each other when it's like something comes up that's painfully obvious. He knows it's him, or I know it's me. The other says, "I'm assigning you this task."
The task was reading the Wall Street Journal for real estate,
And
for
then-
prospects,
and an update.
prospecting out of the Wall Street Journal.
That seems
And-
like something Mike would enjoy.
That reader's son works for Stream now.
Well, I do think one of the things that people at Stream and maybe in the industry get wrong a little bit is the perception. I'll hear from time to time someone say, "Well, Mike's the gas and Lee's the brake," and I don't think that's the case at all. In fact, I would say, in some ways, I've seen Lee be more tolerant for risk than you have, but it also strikes a balance. It's not really a one or the other. I think in areas where, I guess, as I've seen you make decisions, it's you generally will go with the person that has the most conviction on how the decision's being, or on the decision itself.
and
Who has the most knowledge?
knowledge.
Right.
And rely on them.
Yeah. Which is
Because a lot of people come to us really convicted and don't know what they're talking about.
This is true. Passion only makes up for so much. So moving into the history of Stream, did you guys know what you were getting into 27 years ago? I mean, when you made the decision together
Not at
to
all.
leave Trammell Crow Company, I mean, what was your thought process then, and then halfway through, and where is it now in terms of reflecting back on that?
Well, when we left, there was just one thing we were doing. We were going to buy real estate. That's all we did.
Which, by the way, we'd never done before.
Yeah. So, because when we went to work out of school, we were going to be real estate developers, own real estate, and the real estate community industry got turned upside down, and Trammell Crow Company became a purely brokerage firm, not a developer anymore. And so we bought into that for a few years, and then as the markets improved, decided, hey, let's we want to invest in real estate. Crow wasn't really adept at it at the time, and so we said, okay, let's go start a business, and we're going to buy real estate. And that was it, like really simple, very poor planning, and
No planning.
Went about doing that, and then very quickly after we bought our first building, there was no way, because we had a background of leasing buildings, managing buildings, we weren't going to hire somebody else to manage our baby. So we did that ourselves, which was the beginning of what the company looks like today.
And we heard about I was at a broker breakfast, and I heard about a third-party property management and leasing pitch for an office building in Stemmons, and that rang our bell. Hey, that's a competition. That's a game. That's the game we played. Let's go play the game and try and whip some people.
So led with buying buildings, and then from there sort of got into different services and different product types. How has like as you reflect back over the last 27 years, how would you say Stream has changed the most?
It's
Aside from size, I mean, it's gotten.
It's more sophisticated.
In what respect? Expand on.
Really, in every way. I think we're really good at what we do. Our competition is good too now, but I just think our systems and our practice and our preparation and just years of experience, we're when I think about how we capitalize buildings early on versus how we do now, I mean, it's night and day.
So expand on that.
We deal with the most sophisticated investors on planet Earth, are people that entrust us with their money. And at the start, we were just passing the hat, beg, borrowing, and stealing. So it's just, everything's just at a much higher level.
The breadth and capabilities of what the company does today, compared to that, just blow my mind.
Yeah.
Like you go talk to people, it's shocking. It's awesome.
The data centers that we started doing early on versus the ones we do now, much more sophisticated.
I mean, I remember traveling to New York, early 2000s, well, it didn't matter, 8, 9, 10, whenever we went, with Kyle Valentine, Preston Young, Blake, Derek Land, David Blackbird, and it was Extreme Realty or Steam Realty Who, or people, they didn't know who we were yet. So it's been a pretty.
Yeah, that's another way we've changed too. It's not Extreme Realty anymore, or Extreme Reality. We are institutionally safe now. We are, I don't know, an established, reputable business.
A major player in the commercial real estate market across the U.S.
We're probably
a lot of work to do, but
there's some brand value today as opposed to
when there wasn't.
What's the most challenging time? I mean, it wasn't always great. It wasn't always easy. As you think back, like, is there a point in time where you were like, "Holy cow, this is not what I expected. It's harder than I thought," or some event in particular that gave you the most anxiety, worry?
I think the right at the start was the most challenging time for me. We were getting tugged in different directions by different people and different forces, but it didn't take long, maybe a year, a little over a year, you know, when those things kind of went away, and then we just kind of zeroed in, and we're like, it's the two of us. This is it. Let's go. When you were like what we were when we were at Trammell Crow, and you leave, you get a lot of opportunities come your way, and I call them veiled employment opportunities. They look like some sort of entrepreneurial venture you want to get into, but it's really somebody that just wants you to come work for them. And we got a lot of that early on, but it didn't take long for it all just kind of.
You went from an environment, because I was a Trammell Crow as well, that had a lot of structure.
Yeah.
Into literally zero.
Zero.
Telling you where to go, when to be there, where your office was, which was in a closet or something.
There was an email back then, barely an internet, but like the phone stopped ringing. There was, you know, you could just drive around all day and do real estate, unencumbered and uninterrupted.
Yeah. How about for you, Black Sky, right? How about for you, Lee?
What was the question?
Scary, challenging,
yeah.
like.
Yeah. Well,
time.
like as I told you, I kind of forget things. I don't know, forget, but put them in the rearview mirror. So certainly when we started Stream.
That's how the mind works, by the way.
Just
if you remembered pain that way, you just wouldn't keep going, or you wouldn't do anything.
Right. I would say.
Thanks, Dr. Freud.
Important the uncertainty of not knowing, you know, whether or not you made a good decision and leaving a household name and the comfort of that. So yes, that certainly was stressful. And then I would say kind of a second level was COVID, which you were good managing that, CJ, where like what in the first month or two nobody knew, right? Like, could this be a plague? You just nobody had any idea. And what went through my mind is, you know, it was one thing when we were 50 people. Well, now I don't remember how many people we had at the time.
Over 1,000.
About 100, yeah.
People, and, you know, there is no deep-pocketed daddy that is funding this operation. It's the partners of Stream. And so with that volume of people and our commitment, you know, not to lay anybody off, that helped build the success that we had to date, you know, that made me nervous, like not knowing what was going to happen. And, you know, at the time, and I don't know if it was your idea, one of y'all, but like every partner took no salary to make that commitment to try to survive, went out and got the line of credit just in case we needed it to go through this time.
It was Mike's idea.
Yeah.
And we got on the phone, the three of us plus Liz, and we're going through the different scenarios, which all seemed really terrible. You know, and the cost of running our business month to month and how that might change. And Mike was real clear. He said, time out. You know, our people need us now more than ever, and we're going to be there for them. So do whatever's necessary to make that happen. Yep. And if we need to get smaller, we'll do it when the economy and job markets open back up. But we are absolutely not doing it now, and we will go down before they do.
Yeah.
Well, when you lay people off, you're taking money from them and giving it to the owners of the company, and we don't do that.
Yep. Especially in a privately owned business.
In any setting.
Yeah. So, to a more positive subject.
Yeah, we have to have all these downer questions, CJ? Challenges? Well, it's been sunshine and roses the whole time.
But to that end, if there were one particular event or a series that occurred within a condensed time frame that where you really felt like, where you went home and you said, we've made it. Like this is not to use a cliche, too big to fail. Like we have actually built something kick-ass. We've done something great. What that? I've got one or two in mind.
Yeah, I got about 10. First one was 1355 Riverbend. Was the second real estate deal we did that was very fast and very profitable. And back then you went, you know, there was no DocuSign. You went to the title company to sign documents and exchange checks and send all those things, or handle all those things. And we both of us made a lot of money. I don't remember exactly how much, but it was a lot of money. And this is in 97 or 8?
97.
97. And we went to the signing. The closer's name at Republic Title was Jeannie Ragland. I'll never forget this. She said, "Would you like me to wire the money to your accounts?" And I said, "No, ma'am. We want you to write us a cashier's check right now." And she did. And she handed us 2 paper checks, and we walked out of her office. It was at the Crescent here in Dallas, and Lee said, I remember this like it was 5 minutes ago, "What are we going to do now?" And I said, "We're going to put in a big dip, we're going to walk around the block, and we're going to go back to work." And that's what we did.
So that qualified for you or confirmed for you that you could be an investor. What about like a
Well,
screen?
for me, it was,
Survival.
yeah, we were going to survive. Now we had working capital money, and we could continue to finance the business and not go broke.
You knew you had the skills, the plan to make it work.
We
Now you had the fuel.
Yeah, and we put all that money back in the business, most of it anyway.
What about for you, Lee?
Oh, I think, there's been various events throughout the company. To me, a big one was Chase Tower. That not just because in the end we made a lot of money off that investment, but when we won the leasing and management assignment, we moved into a building where when we left Trammell Pro Company, that's where we officed. So we went back in, took the assignment from them, moved our offices into that building. So then we were able to lease and manage that building, and we did that for a couple of years. And then shortly after that, because the owners had wanted to sell it, which is why that fell through, which is why they changed leasing and management of the property. But so we knew they wanted to sell it. We went back in a couple of years later after a 1031 exchange of some data centers in California and purchased the building. So just being a very visible 55-story building in our hometown and owning it, like growing up, I didn't think people owned those types of things, those buildings. If it had AT&T on top of the building, that meant AT&T owned that building. Only big companies do things like that, not individuals, which of course, as you...
Well, going back to winning the leasing management on that, which it preceded us buying it. We won the leasing management in 2004. It was the Super Bowl. It was...
That really put us
It
on
was a straight up...
DFW real estate, Texas real estate.
It was
institutional credibility.
Yeah, the owners had no intention at all of changing the leasing and management, but we presented some reasons why they should. So they're like, okay, we'll have a competition, and it was us versus CBRE, JLL, Capstar. It was the Super Bowl of Dallas real estate at that time, and for a long time since, and we won.
That was the first time I ever saw you stand on a desk and yell to the entire.
That was not the first time I did it. That was the first time because you had just gotten there. But yeah,
a couple years.
That was that. I remember that victory, and we were good. We were just dang good.
Yeah.
And that even made us that much more institutionally safe.
That was it. Because then you had to lease the building, you had to manage it well, then you could take that as your case study to all the other landlords and offer to do the same thing.
There were 3 decision makers that gave us that leasing management. They're 3 of the most sophisticated real estate investors in the world, and they picked us. And so that gives everybody else in the real estate world ease.
What would you say to somebody that were considering starting a company? How do you get ready for that? What's the hardest part about it?
Be flexible.
I think if somebody really has a desire to do it, then do it. We've long said, when with people at Stream, we would love for their next best alternative to be starting their own business.
Self-employment.
Yeah.
Not just going to another real estate company.
and having those kind of people within the organization that have that entrepreneurial drive and want to shake things up and make it happen. That's exactly who we want working in Stream. And then in turn, it's our job to make sure that the company, that they're all, when they measure, hey, I have this with Stream that maybe I don't own 100% of it, versus this over here that I own 100%, that we come out ahead because of our contribution to that individual. And that's everybody at Stream.
Yeah, said another way, that profile of person that brings the creativity, the competitive nature, the ambition, to a job is exactly who we want.
Yes.
And then, like you've always said, our competition with our people should be that they would choose to go and open up another business. And then you guys, all of us, I think, have done a great job of rewarding people who have those characteristics in a way that encourages them to want to stay. They can do that here in this environment so that they don't need to go and scratch that itch. Open a city, run a business line,
Become a partner.
Become a partner and lead in other ways, which is I think also the secret sauce, because we've seen a lot of what I would characterize as small real estate companies stay small for a long time, right? I mean, there aren't that many that have started in a particular market, maybe that have expanded within the state, but you just don't see too many that expand nationally and into other product types and do investments and development.
There are none in our generation of real estate companies. There were before us, Lincoln Property Company, Transwestern, Trammell Crow Company. In our generation, none of them, the companies that started around the time we did, none of them got past that hump. And the difference is we were good at empowering people, as I said earlier, and then just giving them freedom. And then ourselves not getting in their soup. And that's some secret sauce to Stream.
And one of the things we're working on today is we've got that next generation of leaders that needs to be rewarded for their contributions and to take the baton, so to speak.
They're going to keep coming.
Yep.
If we're all doing our job right, they're going to keep coming, and you got to keep creating room.
Endless cycle.
Endless.
It never stops. So culture's always been what we viewed to be our competitive advantage. As I travel the country, and you guys do as well, you see different cultures in all of our different markets. But from the day I joined Stream in December of 2003, it was always culture, culture, culture. I think Trammell Crow Company had a great culture. It didn't really promote that culture. It sort of had it, maybe didn't realize it, or had it and just didn't talk about it, at least not when I was there as much.
Nobody talked about it back then.
And so what was the difference? Why was that so important that we talk about it? That we understood that was foundational to the future success of the company?
A good question. My answer to that is Lee and I didn't talk about it. It's everybody else that came to join us that talked about it.
They told you what you had.
Yeah, and I wouldn't necessarily say we never said let's build a great culture and here's a plan to do that. We didn't do that. It just happened naturally. I can explain, I think, the roots of our culture, because you can't say you got a great culture and then not be able to describe it and not describe its source. But it wasn't us. It was others who came in and said, wow, our culture is great. I remember when we were this is back at 1451 Empire Central, our first office, second really, and we were maybe 15 people. One of our guys said, hey, we're getting really big, and I'm really hoping we don't lose this culture and this touch we have. And I'd say the culture's still the same as it was that day.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. I think you're right. But to use the culture's such a buzzword in businesses, so you hate to I don't even like to talk about it because it seems silly, and I've just never experienced a bad environment where I worked. I've had 2 jobs, Grow and Stream, and they were both great. And what's really been eye-opening to me, as the company's gotten bigger and really over the last 10, 15 years, is people that have worked in other organizations that then come to work at Stream. We're lucky enough to get them to join us in Stream, and they're the ones that are the biggest cheerleaders for the culture at Stream. And to me, that just, like, it's just common sense. It's just being a good person. It's the nice, honest, smart, passionate, like, I think it started because I think Mike and I are both good people. We're nice people. I want to have fun, people that are fun to hang around with. Go get a beer. Like to have fun, but willing to work hard and have the drive to work hard. Then obviously the character of honesty, like, you're done. That's a hard
number
stop.
one, right?
Right.
Because we have people that are nicer than others. We have
Right,
people
right.
that are more passionate, but like, I've never seen, us compromise on
Well,
honesty.
that's what attracted us to each other. We both knew after working together for 7 years at Trammell Crow the high level of integrity in the other guy.
And that's just something I think people carry, like, growing up, like the environment that they were raised. Can you are honest. If you are not, the hammer comes down.
Yeah,
Right.
and I knew Lee's mom and dad. He knew my mom and dad. We knew where each other came from.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think of culture as one of those things that always needs to be tended to.
Yeah.
And the one thing I've realized is we can go into one office or another, and they'll have different cultures, and sometimes over the years we've had to sort of tweak the way the direction the culture was headed, because it truly is a reflection of the way our people feel about the direction, leadership, the care and attention that they're receiving from the people whose jobs and their happiness sort of are dependent on.
Yeah. Do you like coming to work, and is it a productive environment to execute?
And to be clear, we make lots of mistakes, and there have been issues where we've failed in that respect, but our aim is true. And so commercial real estate, over the last several years, there's been a lot of consolidation, particularly within the brokerage companies. I think about a law firm, for example, or financial services, and if you want to be employed in that industry, you have almost an unlimited selection of companies to choose from. Commercial real estate, there used to be many more streams. Trammell Crow Company in the form that we knew it, HFF, and among others. The companies that now control brokerage are mostly corporations, right? And Mike, you've had opinions and really smart thoughts on sort of the differences between a corporation, a publicly traded company, and their behavior versus a privately owned company. Tell me about it.
Well, we were just talking about this with some folks that are looking to move from a big global real estate corporation to us, and I pointed out just a simple fact of business. This isn't any groundbreaking thing or anything Stream invented. The fact is that if you're a manager and you work at one of those big global real estate corporations, your job is to pay your people as little as you can, but still keep them there. That's everybody's job that is a manager that oversees people in those companies and other companies like them. So, but that's not the way Stream rolls. Stream wants everybody to succeed and wants to share in that success, and that's it.
Because those public companies, the job,
They're
CEO
beholden
on
to the
down,
shareholders.
maximize value for the shareholder.
Right. Yeah.
And it turns out the way so many of these decisions are made, you end up in conflict with what shareholders want versus supporting your employees during economic turmoil, which is when they need you the most.
And if you put your people first, everybody else wins. The owners of the company, the customers of the company, the other constituents of the company, everybody wins if your people are first.
What do you guys think makes a good leader? Of a business, of a company, of a team?
Ooh, that's a good one.
What are the characteristics, qualities?
Charisma.
I think a certain level of emotional intelligence, understanding other people's perspective. And I think that can be very hard sometimes, just because people are all so different in personalities and their motivations can be.
So empathy.
Yeah, so it can be different than how you would interpret things. So I think being able to do that, obviously being, sort of decisive in making a decision and moving forward and doing it things that
Yeah, trustworthy. I mean, I think about the teams that I see at Stream that are most successful. Look at and not to only mention one, we have many, but IDS, and watching Cannon and Scott and Alvin Gerald and Bates, and I don't mean to leave anybody off, but a really, really high functioning team with a leader in Cannon that empowers his people, allows them to make decisions, allows them, or encourages rather, them to contribute to major decisions within that business,
I think another good characteristic of a leader is competitiveness, that he or she displays a desire to play the game and win. Real estate is, in a lot of forms, it's a game. And everybody wants to play with a winner. Nobody wants to sign up with someone who's like, well, we're okay if we finish third.
We did great.
We get a ribbon.
Second, no, that's awesome. What does an entrepreneur mean to you? I mean, we kind of throw that around. I agree with you on culture. It's a little bit of a buzzword, cliche. I sort of think about that sort of with the term entrepreneur. I think it's overused.
I do too. I think my textbook definition of an entrepreneur is someone who starts a business, but my in practice definition is someone who operates with a high level of freedom. Nobody operates with complete freedom. I don't operate with complete freedom. I have to think about what my constituents are going to think about the things I'm doing, good or bad. But I think to me, an entrepreneur is someone who operates with a high degree of freedom that generally comes from empowerment, and gives them the ability to go forth and do.
And that entrepreneurial environment to encourage that, which is obviously what we want to do, is not to create these lanes with policies, procedures, like handcuffs on people that don't make sense. As an organization gets large, we need those, right, in certain ways, but being cognizant that don't let those stifle an entrepreneurial environment and
Love
do
that.
what makes, common sense.
Yep. To Lee's point, as we've gotten bigger, we've had to put certain structures in place to manage risk and maximize opportunity. Operational excellence is one of them. We've got phenomenal operating teams in terms of HR, IT, risk management, accounting, and so on. One of the things we've all agreed on is as we make these decisions, as we get bigger, that every decision we make, as best we can, will lead to better efficiency, optimizing our talent, and becoming a place that is really, really easy to do business. We want to go the other direction. We want to be the easiest firm in the country to do business with when you're working at Stream.
We don't want people staying in their lanes. We want them swerving all over the highway. I mean, you can't go fast if you have to stay in a lane because there's somebody in front of you that's going to be moving slower. We want you swerving all over the highway. We don't want you to hit anything, but we want you going fast.
Makes me think of some of the big organizations that, win business. It's like, congratulations, we'd like to give you this business. Then they turn around and give them like a 35-page legal document. Great, go ahead and sign our listing agreement, our management agreement. So, we need to
Make
be
it
easy to do business with our customers. as
Inside
well.
and outside.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. How big do you want Stream to be? Like, what's the future state? As we sit here today, we're, call it 1,400 people, 15 markets, office, industrial, data centers, most service lines. What's the plan?
I don't think we want it to be too much bigger.
I have no desire to be big. Being big means nothing to me.
Nothing.
I like the organization we have, the people we have, I want those operations to grow.
Fill in the holes, make
Fill
sure
in
we're
the holes,
successful.
make sure everyone that's come to work at Stream, and to me, that's priority one. Like, we want, if we're in 15 markets right now, we want those popping, we want those to be the number one real estate company in each of their respective markets, and the people that work there to be crushing it.
We're developing a company just like you develop a piece of real estate. We just need to complete the development of it. We can do everything you can do to an office building, an industrial building, or a data center. We can't do those things everywhere yet. So we need some more people to complete that construction of the company. But yeah, I'm the same as Lee. Neither of us wants 10,000 people.
Right.
But to the extent that it's helpful for the rest of the existing organization to have an office in New York, say, or just
Be fun to go there, too.
geographic location, then let's do that.
Yeah, so as it relates to our strategy, for example, we've got our national office occupier platform that we're very actively building out and recruiting talent to. And so you mentioned New York. Whether or not we would like to have a full service Stream office in New York, who knows, but you should expect that we'll have a very high functioning office tenant rep team in New York that helps to build that platform out across the country. Have you guys taken the time together to just pause and pat each other in the back and go, holy cow, like, we've done good?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't.
I don't think you have.
No.
So,
Even the fact that you'd say that makes me nervous. Reminds me of, was it George Bush on that thing, mission accomplished? Like, I feel like we're so far from mission accomplished right now. So we got a lot of work to do.
go ahead.
I'm on the other side of that fence.
I think much has been accomplished, and I know you guys don't hear it enough, but thank you, sincerely for your courage, for your vision. I've never heard you say anything like this ever, but like literally the company that you built has created jobs for thousands of people, impacting their families, their careers, the communities within which they live in. And I know we're not done. We're a long way from done, but there have been some incredible things accomplished. And I just want each of you to know how much we all appreciate that, truly.
I would add to that, early on in Stream, Lee and I were doing it for money, and we're not doing it for that anymore. We're doing it for those reasons.
Yeah, I've thought about that before, being the analytical guy that I am. I wonder
Not that
how
I'm
many
not
people-
analytical.
Oh, that's very true. No, that's right. Is how many people have worked at Stream over the years? Some have come and gone, and I'll bet it's 5,000 people.
It's a lot. It's more than that.
Yeah.
It's more than that.
Yeah.
But if you also notice how uncomfortable Mike gets when you start complimenting him or thanking him, Lee actually does a pretty good job of it. I would think it would be the opposite between the two of you, but it's not.
I'm not good at taking compliments?
No, you get uncomfortable with it. You're good at it, but it makes you uncomfortable.
I'll work on that.
So, back to work.
Well, thank you,
Thank you.
CJ, for taking us to the next level.
Yeah, here we go.